Agile is confused with agility and flexibility. Look, as a CEO, I want my company to be flexible. So are you prepared to pay for that? Are you prepared to pay for the flexibility? Because flexibility does not come from heaven. If you have a strategy and you have a plant and you have 20,000 people at work in a certain way, and you want to change that suddenly because somebody gave you a call, then you have to stop certain things. What is the cost of stopping that?
Welcome to Innovation Talks. Join us weekly as we discuss with distinguished industry guests how to refine and improve corporate innovation and new product development as businesses aim for long-term success. Hosted by Paul Heller, Sopheon CTO.
If you're looking for additional information around new product development or corporate innovation, sign up for Sopheon's newsletter where we share news and industry best practices monthly. The fastest way to do this is to go to Sopheon.com, that's Sopheon.com, and click the sign up and stay informed box. Last week, Huub Rutten and I discussed AI and machine learning in innovation. This week, we continue our talk as we move on to the topic of Agile frameworks. If you did not listen to last week's episode, you might want to give that a listen first.
You can create software that gives an alert, a notification to the product manager, product line manager, business owner, whatever you would call it, brand managers. Yeah, okay, this product, its revenue is still growing, but I expect, and it basically their own best practice expects, that this problem in 8 months from now will go down the drain. That is doable. It's absolutely doable.
Well, if we extend that and just build on that a little bit, because we're talking so much software now, and we see software getting more and more, and all the examples you gave, the Tesla car, the banking, we see software gaining more and more.
Google.
Yeah, Google. And I know you work with companies, you consult with corporations on what's happening with software and the whole agile piece and how that affects innovation. What trends are you seeing and what issues are you seeing that companies are struggling with when it comes to agile?
That is a nice question, Paul. Do we have 2 days or so? I don't know. Look, when the agile, let me take it from a historical point of view. It's not that long ago that the Agile Manifesto was published by a couple of guys. And they, in fact, if you read that manifesto, there was nothing new in it. Zero new. It was already old. In all the business process improvement theories that I know from the 80s, it was already in there. Don't be too bureaucratic, listen to your user, and so on, and so on, and so on. So all these things. But they were frustrated with, let's say, the failures of software products. Why do the software products fail so much? In the Netherlands, wait a minute. In the Netherlands, 75% of all the automation projects don't make it to the market. Why? Why do we spend so much money on software and the software products and they don't make it to the market? That was their issue. So why do we make so many apps that are not successful? Why is it so difficult to make systems that are useful? And that is what they were thinking about in the philosophical mind. They say, okay, if you do a couple of things, like in the manifesto, you should be more successful. And they call
so simple.
and they call that agile. Okay, fine. And that was picked up. I don't know why it was picked up. It was picked up in a certain manner also by project management. Look, project management tools, they look for a market, right? They look for a market. And they saw, shit, this agile for software development, why don't we use that? And it ended up with the scrums and the sprints and the iterations and all that, you know. And then to market that agile, they needed an enemy. You need to do the agile thing, and it's then a market, nothing to do with the manifesto anymore. So we call that agile. And the word Scrum came up, and all these words came up. And that is a market. It's nothing scientific about it. Nothing, zero. It's not proven. Really zero proven. And suddenly a new movement, if you wish so, came up in the software world to start with. So the software world embraced it with the expectation, the dream, the I think also sometimes the illusion that if they would use that methodology of project management for software, that they would make more successful products better and faster. And there is one thing in it, the engineers, the software engineers, they know it. Let them do their job and then we will have good products. In fact, that is a movement, I can talk a lot about it as a movement. The intentions are okay. The approach, I think, is counterproductive in the market. If you are a startup company and you want to make a piece of software that is successful, it's a perfect way of working. If you are a software company, it's a perfect way of working. But if you are a company in discrete manufacturing, is it then also a perfect way of working? So, and then, once mechanical engineers, they have a completely different rhythm than the agile approach. The rhythm is completely different. So how can you do that? How could you do quick iterations if you already to test something mechanical, you would need 6 months. And this is in our market practice. Or you have to test it on a production line, something, and there is mechanical, you have to test it on a production line, and it takes 6 months to do that. Or you have to go to your customer and test it. So what is the software guy doing then in the meantime? Because in the agile philosophy, you have a Scrum team, and that Scrum team has a boxed time. And if you are in the Scrum team, you should not be in more than 2 projects at the same time. That is the philosophy. So it's an ideal world. You create an ideal closed world where people can work and you are motivated and so on, and you're not hindered by any constraint. But now we go in practice. If you are in a hybrid situation where software and hardware have to go together, you cannot be on your own. There are constraints. So how do you then deal with those constraints as a software guy? And on the other side, the hardware guys, how you deal with these software people that think that you have to work like them. And this is what's now going on. So, and there are consultants, let's say, they sell the dream to companies that if you transform your whole company to an agile way of working, that your company will be more successful. Again, without any proof. And they sell frameworks like SAFE. There's a framework. It's just a book. It's not more than that. It's a lexicon. And they teach consultants. And the consultants go out to companies and they say, hey, I know how to transform your company into something successful with this framework. And some of them are quite successful in selling that. Like you had people that were selling Six Sigma or Lean or Kaizen or BPI, QA. I have a blog, Paul. I'm not sure that you saw that. And in one of the blogs, I gave the example of the QA Baldrige Award in America. There is a Baldrige Award for quality assurance companies that have their quality system very well in place.
Yeah, that's a real prize. I remember
Yeah, the prize.
when IBM won that prize many years ago. That was a big deal.
In 91, the company won that prize. And in 92, it was bankrupt.
Oh,
famous example of, wait a minute, is there a relationship between these systems, these management methods, and the success of the company? So the success of a company depends on so much things, not the management method. So I think that the intentions of Agile are not bad. I don't think so. But I believe that it cannot be the only answer to the success of a company. And you cannot apply it to every, let's say, part of an organization. So do you want the financial department to work in an agile way? Do you want your sales organization to work in an agile way? Do you want that? And if you do it as a company and you have 100 suppliers, what if the suppliers that you have not work in an agile way? So it's
and by an by an agile way, I think what you talk about what do you mean by an agile way? Is it the fact that you're going to adjust as you go? When you use that word for sales as an example, can you describe that?
Yeah. So if you have a sales process, and you have first of all you have the lead generation, and then you have the prospecting, and then of course you try to get in the door, and then you have iterations with that prospect, and iterations is not exclusive for agile. Also, the waterfall methodology was full of iterations. When I implement my system, before I heard of the word agile, I had continuously iterations, and I try to get the user always on the table, at the table, the user, not the manager, the user himself. So, and I know many companies that use agile, and the goal of agile would be closer to the user. And you know it also from Sopheon how difficult it is to get to the user. Software companies cannot get to users just like that. They get to process managers or managers or what have you, who are not really the users, the end users. If you take, let me take you another example where they manage that since a long time. Voice of the customer. I was with Unilever in England, where they have a lab. They make shampoos for ladies, and they have focus groups, and these are people, real ladies from the street, and they pay them to test their shampoo. Well, how many software companies do the same?
I don't know of any that actually pay, but
So
there must be some. But yeah,
So Unilever and all these companies, they are practicing this since a long time. Now, the only thing is we don't call it agile, we call it voice of the customer. It's voice of the customer. And agile is more like old wine in new sacks. Do you know that expression?
yeah.
But it is a market. Is a market of consultancy and so on, and I think that these people do it in a very smart way. And my concern is that companies who are always looking for improvement, always looking for that, they hope that with change, whatever the change is, they motivate their people again and they will be better. But
Yeah,
that,
I think that's if you think of agile as a mindset, okay, but when it becomes just a process where you just turn the crank and you forget about why you're doing it, I think that's a dangerous spot. And I hear what you say. Companies are saying, "Hey, that's the way to do it. Let's be agile. Go," right? And they just expect that the organization's just suddenly going to do that and all's going to be fine. And I think what you say is, be careful. A lot more to it than that.
oh, there's a lot more to it. Look, if I am agile with a Scrum team with 10 stupid people, I will have a stupid product coming out of it. I'm sure. And if you have a non-agile team and I have 10 creative, very good experts, professionals, they will make a good product. Agile as a method cannot be the goal. And what also happens in the market, and I really, I don't struggle with it, but it hurts, I would say, that agile is confused with agility and flexibility. Look, as a CEO, I want my company to be flexible. When I was working with Archelic, a good customer of ours, and I'm allowed to call to use the name. I interviewed the CTO and also the CEO before to understand the needs of the top of the company for the new innovation management system that we were going to configure for them, and the new way of governance. And they said to me, Huub, we need a thorough process, but make sure that we can be flexible, like we always were. So what do you mean with flexible? With flexible, we mean that if MediaMarkt, for instance, a very, very big retailer, when they want something, we should be able to react immediately. So what do you mean? Do you mean that you then stop the other projects and then that one goes before, or do you stop a plant? What do you mean? I couldn't get an answer, but the only thing it said is, make sure we are flexible. Okay,
Yeah.
so are you prepared to pay for that? Are you prepared to pay for the flexibility? Because flexibility does not come from heaven. If you have a strategy and you have a plant and you have 20,000 people at work in a certain way, and you want to change that suddenly because somebody gave you a call, then you have to stop certain things. What is the cost of stopping that? And they didn't know. They didn't know what it was, the cost of that. Oh, nice example. Agility, yeah? Now I talk about agility.
Yeah.
The corona, the pandemic, the pandemic thing started last year in Turkey, February or something, March. There was a shortage of respiration machines, and Arcelic has a lot of science and what have you. They can do that. Is let's say the Philips from Turkey, right? So it's one of the leading companies there. They put the best experts from all the angles where they were. I think a team of 50 people or something, and they designed and developed and marketed a new respiration machine that they could give on the hospital. It was basically a very good marketing exercise. And the son of the president was involved, and political on the front pages of the papers in Turkey and so on. So it caused a lot of goodwill for the company, for sure. Just till now, a number of projects, big projects, suffered from that because they couldn't be launched. And the cost of not launching, I say 20 products, perhaps 50, in terms of variance, 1,000, that came on the market a lot later than predicted. than estimated. That was the price for that thing. It was not only the 50 people or something for 3 or 4 weeks out of their projects. No, the launch of these products, was later. And the cost, the investment of that goodwill was very expensive, very expensive. So agility comes always to a price. So when you want to have flexibility and agility, you need to set up your process in such a way that you still know where you go, that you have a strategy, and that you have some resource, let's say buckets, built into your system to take some people out and put them in again. Otherwise, your strategic goals will suffer from it. So if you want to be flexible, you need a system to be flexible. You cannot be just flexible, because then you have chaos. And the price of chaos is very high. So flexibility and agility comes with a price. That is not the same as Agile. Agile is a methodology, is a project management methodology. It's nothing to do with agility. If you organize your company with a SAFe, for instance, methodology, then I know one company, they have 23 programs, and each program has 4 to 6 Scrum teams. So they have more than 90 Scrum teams. The Scrum teams are between 8 and 10 people. They have a Scrum Master and the whole thing. They are simply organized like that. So a program is now the word for a department. They used to have departments, and the departments had people, and the people were in teams. That's not anymore. We have now programs, we have Scrum teams. So what is the difference? What is the difference? As I said, if you have a Scrum team with bad engineers, you will get the bad code, right? And now they have also hardware people in those Scrum teams, and these hardware people, they don't like it. They really don't like it. So I am not against, let's say, agility or agile way of working. And if people like that, they really should do that, because if you want to be managed like this or like that, doesn't matter. You need to be managed. And if you think your software planning is better with sprints, then do it instead of events or iterations, sprints or meetings. You call it a sprint meeting, or you have everyday stand-ups. Yeah, you could also have a meeting every evening around the coffee machine and say where you are and then go on. So that is nothing special. Nothing special. It has just a new name. It has a new brand. And because of that, it is like a modernism, and people like the modernism. So if you don't do that, you don't get young engineers, for instance, attracted to your company. Things like that. So there are all kinds of motivations to change now and then. Old wine and new sack. Yeah, now and then you need a new sack to do it. But don't have the illusion that because of that you will be more productive. Don't have the illusion that you will have better products and make a higher margin. Don't have the illusion that because of that you are better in bringing products to the market in time. That might be true for the software side, but if you have a hybrid product, forget it, because the agile way of working is bottom up. In the agile way of working, the software engineers or the agile teams have a lot of self-steering mechanisms. In the end, they deliver what they can build. That's it. No, you cannot just deliver what you can build. If you make a new product to the market, that product has a price. So if you want to make a margin, we have a maximum cost. Okay, you are not the only one at work. We have 4 new features, and we have to prepare the plant. The plant has to do a CapEx investment. The plant has to order new molds, robots, and so on. And the features then, in total, cannot make more cost than X. So that comes top down. Otherwise, we cannot sell that product. So there is a cost ceiling, a framework, top down, also for software engineers to work in. And that, I think, has tension with agile thinking. Mm-hmm. The agile philosophy has difficulty to work with constraints. However, the reality of the business is that you have constraints. You cannot just do that. You cannot just define that. So in terms of, let's say, money, but also in terms of deadlines and in terms of requirements. So sometimes your software, if you embed it in a machine and it's steering software, a nice example, Paul, you know what that is? Do you know the MAX? The MAX?
No.
The plane from Boeing, the Boeing MAX.
Oh, the 737 MAX, yes.
So now you are better in planes than I am.
I've been on been on a lot of airplanes, Huub.
Yeah, but it is a nice example. I don't know if the software guys that caused the problem, they caused the issue. They created software that was not easy for the users to use because it worked the other way around as normally. So if the pilot took the thing up, it went down, and if he put down, it went up. And the software worked as designed. The software worked as designed. Okay, how many people were killed? So the software worked as something. You can work in an agile team or whatever, but something went wrong at the system level and at the user level. So suppose you have a very big machine and there are hundreds of software elements in it. If they are managed in an agile way, I don't know what comes out of it. And then I have to combine it in a system. How long will it take and how much iterations will you have before you have the right system? Can you imagine how much more it will cost?
I hope you found Huub's take on agile frameworks to be as insightful as I did. Join us again next week as our conversation continues and we begin to talk more about new product development of smart products.
Thanks for joining us this week for Innovation Talks with Paul Heller. For additional information on today's topic, check out Sopheon.com, Sopheon.com, where you will find plenty of innovation-centric content and corporate best practices. If you'd like to discuss anything with Paul or would like to get in touch with the show, email us at talks@sopheon.com.